you have to do it a lot longer, consistently. And it's like working out. Okay, you go to the gym 3 times a week and you're like, how come I didn't lose any weight? So but you're eating the same, and your diet remains the same. You go to the gym 3 times, you weigh yourself and you didn't lose any weight. It's because it's only been a week. You only went to the gym 3 times. You didn't change what you ate. So affirmations is the same thing. So like when you sit down and you affirm, it's like that's when you're going to the gym. So when you sit down and you affirm, you got to do it consistently. It's a journey and it's a process, and it challenges you.
This message is prohibited.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of TabooTalks. Here I'm with an awesome person, my awesome friend Mai Yer. And Mai Yer also goes by another alias, Mai Yer Xiong. And so a lot of her...
Ailey Lee now.
Oh yeah, okay.
拍子呢?
Ailey
I
Lee.
changed last time, I swear.
Yeah, so Ailey Lee, she's a graphic designer, kind of a creative director in her own right, and she also is a co-founder and core member of TBE, To Be Extraordinary. If you watch the Sandra Tao episode, that's where we kind of talked about that. But did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it right on.
Cool.
Yeah, I used to do professionally. If anyone is curious, I used to do community organizing, and then now I work at a school.
For sure.
And so, and the reason why I bring that up too is because I feel like a lot of my identity comes from the jobs that I take, and the skills that are acquired. So I try to incorporate a lot of that into, apply it into like what I want to create outside of a 9-to-5 work job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. What are you working on now, actually?
Well, let's see. I'm working on a couple things. So, one thing that I'm part of right now is an accountability group.
Okay.
It's just called Sparrow. And so, and Nelsie invited me to join this group. Yeah. And, there's amazing women in there. And right now they're all Hmong women. And basically we just all keep each other accountable for whatever goals we want to accomplish in life. So I think it's a really beautiful thing, and I've seen us been able to surpass where we wanted to be when we started. Yeah, and it's a 12-week program, so I think we're halfway there.
Okay, yeah.
So
is that gonna go on after this portion is finished? Like, because we talked about it, but and I also, funny that you mentioned her, because I just talked with Nelsie the other day on Thursday. Shout out to that should be the one right before this one. But yeah,
hey girl, hey.
I also met Dia over there. They're doing some fantastic work over there at City Council, and. And is that program gonna go?
Yes, so
keep going.
Yes, that is the plan. That is their plan, to continue to have the Sparrow program. So I'm excited about where it's gonna go. I'm excited about where we're at and how we're gonna wrap it up too, because there's just so many things that still are unknown about it, and it's just very exciting.
Yeah.
It's so in Sparrow we have we evaluate our life and different pillars: wellness, spiritual, financial, family, relationships, business.
Yeah.
And so I think there's one more, but so we focus on the 3 that we have ranked ourselves lowest on.
Okay.
And so some of mine are family and relationships, which can be separate, but I grouped it together. And then my financial, that was a goal that I really need to work on for myself. And then my business. So the business is like Ailey TV on YouTube, or TBE, or if I'm doing a freelance project. And then I also wanted to write a book.
Yeah.
So that program is allowing me to sit down and do it, like to really just cut out the bullshit and do it,
Yeah.
So
For sure. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's been a long road to get here. And like for
Happy to be here, though.
yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. Um shoot.
No, I think you're doing really great, and you provide a lot of a great platform for folks to come out and talk.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
TabooTalks.
I would love to, I love meeting people that are making waves in the community. You guys are definitely making waves in the community. Not many people know, but Mai Yer and I, we've done some projects together in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and like you have a well of like experiences and like depth to you that not many people know about, but because of that, it's you started doing these things, right? You started doing like affirmations,
Mm-hmm.
positive sayings, just like what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, how did you arrive? Like, I mean, you don't have to give us the full story, whatever you're comfortable with, but like, what like kind of like was maybe the last straw or like the last spark you needed in order to like start doing affirmations for yourself or like get this positivity thing started going?
Good question. So I would have to dig into where I was when I started doing affirmations, and
Okay.
it's just it was a bit ago. It was a long while ago, and the space that I was in at that time it's a big blurb of memories that are like contained in like a ball, So it's like when I poke my finger in the ball, then I like remember. So anyway, so affirmations, honestly, it came from my mentor.
Okay.
From my mentor at that time, and she understood what I had gone through to meet her up until that point, which was going through depression, wanting to commit suicide, and then being financially broke and feeling terrible about my finances. And I was only 21, and I've never traveled before. I've never been to California. And so that I was in that space, and I felt small as a person. And so her, as my mentor, she introduced me to affirmations. And her mentor, would talk about a lot of personal development and how we talk to ourselves. They conditioned me a lot with with having a positive mindset. And so I strived for it and worked hard on it every single day for about over a year and a half, until I really felt more comfortable. More so like after them mentoring me almost every single day for a year and a half, then I took the reins and I had to mentor myself for the next couple of months.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's how it started. I wanted to be financially free, and I was tired of my own shit. So, and they were, they definitely helped me to see myself in a bigger light. So they wanted to push me to be a better. I feel like they pushed me to be a better salesperson, and they conditioned me to be a better salesperson, which gave me a lot of strength, I guess.
Okay.
And I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, so I think the idea of being a salesperson is
I had to go through a journey of fixing myself.
Yeah.
I feel like, in order to be presentable to the market, because for me, I'm an emotional person, and so what I struggled with was what they call EQ.
Okay.
Emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
And so I also lacked self-awareness growing up. So for example, I grew up very shy and very quiet. And then my mother would always put me down. She would always say, "Oh, you're not good enough. You can never be able to do that." Saying all these things, and it's just what she observed. But I don't know if she knew that it was really putting a damper on me, and I didn't understand that it was because of what she's saying that made me feel that way too. So I just accepted myself like, oh man, I'm like the most shy, like the stupidest person, even though I get good grades.
Yeah.
And so I felt dumb. I felt unworthy and useless, things like that. fun fact, my sister called me useless one time and I just like cried. And so that's how I grew up though.
Okay.
So that's how I grew up feeling up on myself. And so, but if you ask my friends around that time, they'd probably be like, oh my year, she's like the nicest person. And she's like so smart. You know, I was voted like most likely to become president in 8th grade. But so you see the contrast in there. And so I didn't have the self-awareness that, okay, maybe I am shy and maybe I am quiet, but you're also smart, right? Or you're friendly and you get along with people.
Yeah.
So, but I never realized that until I got into sales.
Okay.
And then I had to unpack all my emotions and I had to learn like, oh shit, wait, maybe I am smart, or maybe people do like me, you know? And yeah, maybe I am quiet, but hey, that means I'm observant, you know? So like I stopped putting myself down. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, you know, I think that's really good that you had that experience going through like that, becoming more of a salesperson, because, you know, like for Hmong people, when we, at least for me, immediately when I think of salesperson, you think of like the person coming to your door trying to sell you a vacuum, or a
and that was the tricky part of it too. And like, I'm not saying that anyone needs to go into sales in order to find that self-discovery within themselves, right?
For sure.
It's so different for everyone, and so, but that was the path that I had to take in order to learn. And so, but yeah, that the thing about sales is there's the good and the bad, and it always comes back down to the person. Whoever is selling, like, you know, there's sales being made everywhere.
Yeah.
Like even moms are naturally selling to their kids when they're like, you need to go brush your teeth. You need to eat your lunch. You need to eat your dinner or eat your vegetables, right?
Yeah.
And then if the kid eats it, yeah. So, anyway, so the sales, you know, it's always the best for me. I always like to come about it in the most genuine way, where both parties can benefit, and just because that's how I like to see it.
Okay. Yeah. And so like you're doing affirmations now, and like, you know, I feel like some people are gonna be like, hey, like, you know, like affirmations are good and all. I mean, like it's kind of like a the first thing that came in my mind was like a woo-woo thing. Woo-woo,
and that's totally natural.
Yeah.
That people, you know, yeah. So and everyone thinks like that. A lot of people think like that. And there's this guy, his name is Andrew something. He's
Garcia?
Nope. He's not a singer. He is a business owner. He sells health products, and he also has his own podcast. If you guys know who I'm talking about, he swears all the time in his podcast. I don't remember his name right now, but he's great. He's a billionaire. You know, he's made billions of sales in his health business, and he keeps it real. So he's like a mentor. So I will listen to his podcast a lot, and he always says that affirmations are shit. Like he does not believe in affirmations.
Yeah.
And you know, it's so my mentor from the sales position at that time, she was like, Mai Yer, you hear that? Because she knew that I like those type of things, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, but at the same time, like my spirituality is just something that's part of me. So it's just, yeah. So, and people choose, how interested you are in certain topics and what you identify with. So for me, I do have that part of me. I just call it spirituality. It's not woo-woo. I had to learn when they say woo-woo, like, what do you mean? You know, because it's like, for me, I'm just so interested in those type of topics.
Yeah. Wait, so like explain what woo-woo is.
Woo-woo, I think woo-woo is just, for me, I feel like woo-woo is when someone says, woo-woo is like wishful thinking. Woo-woo is you wishing for something, and then you just think it's going to happen like by itself, right? And then you're like, oh, yay, you know. But no, but no, of course, like that is shit. Like that's not anything. It's not doing anything, you know.
Yeah.
It's just a thought, you know. So so basically what I mean is like there's a lot of laws that go behind the universe. So
I'm curious. Yeah.
There's a lot of laws that go behind the universe. There's the first law of attraction. And there's books that are written about it by successful people, you know. Number 1, Think and Grow Rich by Dale Carnegie. And so what he talks about is what you think you can achieve, right? So it does come back to our mentality. But with the woo woo, going back to being woo woo, it's like, when people think of woo woo, it's like, I'm going to light some incense and then say Om in my room.
Yeah, it's kind of like the it's anything that is not technically religion and not science. It's all like spiritual thing. Like if you were to like do yoga in a very traditional fashion, where you think of like the Buddhist monks in the temples and just like sitting there, and then you have some sort of enlightenment moment.
Correct.
And you think everybody's connected through the world, like everybody's in love, and like
Yes.
like when people talk about hippie kind of things, that's what like woo woo is kind of like. If that helps paint a picture for everybody listening in.
Yeah. So that's like the general picture of what woo woo would be like, right?
Yeah.
So I've learned to I've learned to kind of just like I said, it's in order for me to achieve what I want, I can't just wish for it, right? I have to work for it and I have to take action steps towards it. So it's just a balance of being realistic, but also being a dreamer.
Okay, so then like why do you do affirmations then? Because like it seems like that in itself, like.
And that's totally a valid question. I'm so glad you asked, because with affirmations, how I like to use it, from my story, since I went through a lot of mental depression and poor mental health, to the point where I didn't want to really live anymore, I believe that it was because I wasn't aware of all the good that I did have in my life at that time, and I didn't know how to appreciate it. And like, even if some call it an illness, I don't know if it's an illness, but I know that it is a chemical. It's a chemical in our body and in the mind. So in that space that I wanted to slit my wrists and commit suicide, I can't snap my fingers and just be happy like that. It just can't. That science can't happen. And I'm sure people have researched this and wrote about it too. But so the reason why I do affirmations was because I wanted to rewire my brain and rewire
Take your time.
Rewire the thoughts that I have in my head, and turn any subconscious feelings that are inside of me, like I'm worthless, to affirm myself, hey, stop thinking like that, right? Stop that chemical thought, or that chemical surge, and put a stop to it. And you say, you literally say stop, and then you say like, I am beautiful, right? So you change that thought around. And so that's what I believe what happens when I affirm to myself, and how my body is responding to that. And so
for sure,
so that's why I do it. That's why I love affirmations. So I believe that I can control myself, and it's a way that I get to control myself. Is like, I'll do like monthly affirmations, like, and I just started doing that in February. So in February, I wrote 10 affirmations that I would like to see myself be, how I want to show up within that month. And then since it's March now, I wrote 10 new affirmations and how I want to show up in March.
And so, I think,
and it's not the answer for everybody,
right?
And it never is. So, but it's something that just works for me. So I like it a lot.
So for people that are already trying it or doing it, or like thinking about doing it, like how long for you did it take for these affirmations to really take effect or take hold? Because you know how like people are always going to be like, or there's always going to be someone out there that's like, I say these things too, like, you know, like.
Yep. And I know where you're going. So if someone is completely new to affirmations and is in that space where, well, will this really help me? Right. I would say yes, it will. If you want to try it, right? And so if the person that decides to try it, it's when you affirm yourself and you do it daily for about 3 days, you won't see any difference. So you have to do it a lot longer, consistently. And it's like working out. Okay, you go to the gym 3 times a week and you're like, how come I didn't lose any weight? So but you're eating the same, and your diet remains the same. You go to the gym 3 times, you weigh yourself and you didn't lose any weight. It's because it's only been a week. You only went to the gym 3 times. You didn't change what you ate. So affirmations is the same thing. So like when you sit down and you affirm, it's like that's when you're going to the gym. So when you sit down and you affirm, you got to do it consistently. It's a journey, and it's a process, and it challenges you. Are you going to give up on it, or do you really want it? So it's just that type of concept.
Yeah.
No,
I totally I like your analogy so much. It's so good.
Thanks. Well, it's nothing that I invented. I learned about it.
Yeah.
And so it works. And so I do also find that a lot of my friends that went through mental health issues, they use affirmations, and they're not new. It's not new to them. And it makes a lot of sense, because you really have to change how you feel about yourself and how you think.
Yeah.
In
No,
order for
totally.
things to change.
I feel that a lot. And going back to the workout thing, I just want to expand upon that just a little bit more. So there's a term and a word that I'm trying to get out there, and it's a translator, where you and I could be saying the same thing but using different words, and we're just translating it differently. So within the English language itself. So to add on to like what you were saying earlier about working out, and it's just like, like you got to keep at it, you got to stay consistent with it, and like there's never a point where while you're in the gym where you're like, wow, this is the day when I got fit. It's more of like, because you kept doing it hopefully for 6 months consistently, then it's not like, oh, it was at this day at month 4, day 25 that my body became fit. It was just kind of like,
right.
It wasn't that your body became fit that day, but you just realized that like, oh, I reached a milestone. And the same thing goes for affirmations. It's not that one day you wake up and you're like, today's the day, and the light switch turns on. It's more of like you realize it.
Like that.
Yeah, the longer you keep doing it, you just realize that thing you've just been saying consistently has become who you are. And to kind of like back it up, there's a Harvard study out there saying that like your thoughts are powerful, right? But when you vocalize your thoughts, they become 10 times more powerful. And then on top of that, when you negative thoughts, when you vocalize them, are 4 times more powerful than the positive thoughts. So for example, let's say I think to myself, I am an amazing person, right? I'm thinking about it. That's like a 1x. So let's say that's a power level of 10.
And you are.
Yeah. And then when I say it out loud, I am an amazing person. And, whether you really mean it or not, like just saying it out loud, it just means that now that thought has become like a power level of 100. But let's say you say, oh, I'm not an amazing person at all. Then that power level in effect is from 400 to 700. That's 4x to 7x stronger than your positive your positive thought and vocalization. And so it just goes back to kind of like what you're saying, that like you just got to keep doing it, because
Yep. And this is what I was going to bring up too. There's also a study where it takes about 7 years for a to change a thought. So an ingrained thought that we have in our head that we, especially if we grew up with, it takes about 7 years for that thought to completely change. So it's really in that space of transformation.
Yeah, I like that because the body does the same thing.
Correct.
Every 7 years we go through a physiological change.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Our dead skin cells, right, and create new
yeah.
skin cells or something like that.
Yeah, that also neurological pathways in your mind also change. You know, like once you hit 14, that's kind of like puberty, adolescence, prime age, and then you hit 21. Like for at least in the U.S., that's when you can drink and you're kind of like an adult, culturally speaking. But also like you change there, and then you hit 28, and then every 7 increments, your whole physiological down to the cellular level starts changing.
Correct.
And so I can hop on that.
Yeah, so that's like the science between affirmations. And that's why I like it. And I noticed too that like if I'm not diligent with my affirmations, then I notice, or it's more of a feeling.
Okay.
But I noticed that I am less happy, or like I've changed in a way where like I didn't want to, or like it kind of went downward spiral.
Does that happen like right away for you, or does it have to take like 3 days, 2 days?
It takes maybe 3 days to a week.
To like realize or notice the change?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's not a big deal either. It's not a huge deal because it's not like I've turned into a complete monster after 3 days,
Yeah.
Because like I still remain the same. It's just it's kind of like every day you wake up with your cup half filled, and then your affirmations just fills and overflows your cup. But then it's like if for 3 days I forget to fill my cup, then it just remains the same. But then when I'm using my energy, it lowers and lowers and lowers and lowers. But then when I read my affirmations, then it starts to fill, and then it overflows, and then so it's kind of like that. So I would just say it's like a spiritual practice.
Okay.
Yeah, a spiritual devotion.
Yeah. So do you think that affirmations is also like a form of self-love, or
I believe it's a
really?
tool. That's a good question. I believe it's a tool for self-love.
Okay.
Yeah, because you can if you're not loving yourself, then you can affirm. It's kind of like you're tricking yourself to love yourself, because you
gotta have to explain that to me. Like I'm lost here.
Okay, so if I'm gonna go this is kind of extreme, but if I'm gonna go sleep with somebody and we're not in a relationship, like that's a form of disrespect for myself. Like I lack self-worth, and I'm not loving myself because I expect to feel some type of fulfillment by sleeping with somebody. Right? Okay. So that's an example of someone not loving themselves enough, right? Would you agree? If she did it consistently, and she's like unhappy, and she's like complaining to you about like, oh, this guy doesn't like me, and I'm like really heartbroken, and I don't know why I just can't seem to find the right man.
I think if consistently always coming out of it a more depressed, or like very sad, and like some sort of toxic, I would say it's unhealthy. But some people like they do that, but they don't mind it because they're at a space in their life where they can just like go around and have a lot of partners, and that's okay because like they're not looking for some sort of attachment, and they don't need self-worth from that person. They just need the satisfaction of release or whatever they feel from that kind of stuff. But,
nope, totally.
But for you you wouldn't.
So let's say, I guess I'm just trying to find a right example.
No,
to
keep
turn
going
around
with your example though.
But so if
you're committed, stay committed.
Okay, well, so if you know someone who is like a hopeless romantic, and she just wants to find that perfect person for her, but you just see her like getting hurt over and over again by having no boundaries and sleeping with the guy that she likes, like, right away. And then he just leaves her. And then she's like, you know, comes back and she's just like heartbroken and she's just like devastated. So it would just be like, you know, if I was her sister, I'd be like, well, honey, maybe you need to, you know, just stop doing that and love yourself more. Like, I feel like that's something I would say to her, like, love yourself more. But so what's hard is, what does self-love look like? That's one thing that I'm trying to make an example of in my social media too nowadays.
Okay. Yeah.
Because sometimes people will think like, well, what does self-love looks like? So
what does it look like for you?
What does it look like? It looks like
right now, currently.
Right now, it looks like I just made a post about it.
Today?
Yeah. Well, no, not today. Let me just pull it up.
Yesterday, right?
Yesterday.
It had a long caption.
Yes.
Yeah.
It looks like trying to keep people happy, trying to working full time, trying to write a book, volunteering to provide food for events, healing others, investing quality time with friends, family members, reading the Bible every day, eating a good diet, trying to stay positive, and allowing myself to take a break from the gym for 2 weeks. That's what self-love looks like.
For you right now.
For me right now.
Yeah, okay. That's what's up. How would you generalize that for somebody that's not you, though?
For someone that's not me, and that's the hard part, is it's because everyone's so different. Everyone's such in a different space. But you just have to honor yourself. You have to honor yourself, because I had a hard time doing what I just read and what I wrote, because I went to the gym. I scheduled myself to go to the gym.
Right.
But this is just real life. I'm low on my gas tank, and I'm not getting paid until next Friday.
Yeah.
So, you know, I need to sacrifice in order to survive until I get my next paycheck, as sad as that sounds.
Yeah.
And I don't plan to continue to live like that. You know, that's also a driving force for like wanting to make more income.
Facts.
That's a different story though.
Yeah.
So basically I had to sacrifice, okay, I'm just going to let myself off the hook and not go to the gym until I get my next paycheck and can't afford using my gas mileage for this. Because I'm investing in going out to youth groups, going to church. And that takes, you know, that's like 20 minutes away, almost 30 minutes away. And then, you know, driving to work, I need to drive to work, right?
Yeah.
And then what if I need to, what else do I do? You know, driving out to do something creative, or, you know, things like that. So, yeah. So it's just a matter of, you know, sacrificing and like eliminating things from your schedule.
Yeah. No, I feel that. You just went to a creative thing this morning too.
I did. Yeah. Thankfully, I got picked up though.
So. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's chill, yo.
See, so that's when your friends come and save you.
Yes, having a strong support system is good. Well, I'm gonna throw this out there because I think this is something I've talked with a couple of people about. Anybody listening or watching, if you watched the very first episode of Taboo Talks, it was with City Yang, or Wabi Sabi. And that whole episode was about self-love.
What's up, girl?
Yeah. So she's a really cool person. Also, City is currently doing right now. I think by the time this episode airs, you'll be no longer be able to see the show. But
that's right.
just for historical documentation, City is a part of this amazing show called Face to Face right now over at Park Square Theaters. It's talking about the experience of women, specifically Hmong women.
Yep.
Talking about Hmong culture and history starting from like Vietnam War, the Secret War, and heading into their own personal lives into this current moment. And so that. Also yesterday, it's so crazy because like I just had this kind of talk with somebody else yesterday.
Did you guys go? Because I saw it, but
yeah.
I just financially can't. So.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. Yeah, I was actually gonna invite you out yesterday. I was like, oh wait, but Mai Yer yesterday said that like she's
I
gonna,
know.
like,
So I just had to sit
I
this
don't
one
think
out,
so.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah. So I went to the show yesterday.
Unfortunately.
It was amazing. You know, at the end of it all, they talk about topics of that I think women would be able to relate to. First and foremost, they do talk about depression and mental health and mental illness and invisible diseases. And then they talk about rape and being a survivor. They talk about being non-binary there. They also talk about shaming your family or like eloping too early and things like that. And so
All those taboo stuff.
yeah, you know, that's why they're gonna come onto the show eventually. So, you know, if you guys are watching this, be prepared. I really want all you guys onto the show at some point.
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry, I'm derailing. So the thing about self-love, I encourage everybody to think of it in this way, because I think thinking it in this way will help lead people to find what it looks like for them. You know, like for you, what you just said, that's what self-love looks like for you currently. And I think if you are, and the way to think about self-love or approach self-love is like you have to imagine yourself as if you were another human being that you were in a romantic relationship with. So in this case, I'll pretend that you're me, right? And if I was dating me, which you're pretending to be right now, if I was dating Daniel sitting across from me, I know that Daniel, and I know everything about Daniel, you know, like he doesn't like being lied to, he doesn't like being, you know, like cheated on, he doesn't like being like not appreciated, and like he has all these deep seated like insecurities and triumphs that really make up who he is, you know. And I know that about Daniel. And so if I was dating Daniel and I told him as a romantic partner, hey, like I'm gonna, you know, just like I'm gonna start working out consistently every day, like every day I'm gonna do 50 push-ups, and you know, Daniel across from me is just like, okay, that's awesome, like I want to see that. I want to see you keep your promise to me, because you know that's a promise I'm making to Daniel. Like I came up to Daniel, yo, Daniel, I'm making a move in my life right now to make it better, it better for us. And the way I'm gonna do it is by doing 50 push-ups every day. And you know, Daniel over there's like, oh wow, like he loves this relationship so much, like he's willing to put 50 pushes every day, like he's willing to push himself, like forget about the pushes, but he's willing to like push himself for the relationship. And so like, what if I over here don't keep up that promise? It's just kind of like, well, then that means me over there is going to be like upset. It's upsetting when your partner doesn't keep a promise that they promised you, and
it's disappointing.
It is disappointing. And so if you really think about self-love in a way where you can like experience it as if you're another human being, how would you treat another human being as if you yourself was another human being and you guys were in a relationship together? That in itself is how I view self-love, because then
I see.
You know, because that translates into like, oh, like, you know how people are always saying like, go have dinner with yourself, or like go
take yourself on a date, or
take yourself on a date. And it's just like, you know, and it's just kind of like you're taking yourself on a date and you're going by yourself alone, and that's kind of like how some people see it. It's like, oh, I'm just going out there alone, and it's kind of like weird, it's kind of awkward, and it's like I'm not used to this being alone. But if you were to,
I've done that before.
Yeah, but if you really think about as if you're walking together with another copy of yourself, then it kind of like alleviates some of that. But also, yeah, that's kind of like self-love. You have to transport yourself out of yourself.
I see. So see yourself as a caring. You kind of just, okay, I see what you're saying, but you know, like see And I know what you're talking about too, but it's, knowing how to love yourself from another person's perspective that cares about you.
Yeah,
right.
Essentially.
And that's perfect, because that's what self-awareness is all about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I read this at, I think when I went to church, someone said self-awareness is love.
I don't know where you got that from, but I would.
I don't know if it's from. I don't think it's from the Bible. I don't know if it's from the Bible, but I heard it at church, and it was our pastor's sister that was doing the sermon that day, and she talked about how hashtag love is not a hashtag, where we wrapped up a relationship series at church. Yeah, and it was a great sermon. And so, but I can relate to what you just said, and not because I took myself on a date by myself, but because in order for me to help myself grow, I have to step outside of my body and like that's woo woo, but like I just need to observe myself, and think from that perspective. Like what do I need?
For sure. So I can feel that self-awareness is essentially love or self-love. Will Smith says that self-discipline is self-love.
It could so many things, I feel like it's so many things but it's also the same concept. It's just different wording, right? And
exactly.
And maybe it's just different wording, but just honoring yourself and choosing yourself is also called loving yourself.
For sure.
Yeah. So like, if your partner cheats on you, are you gonna, continue to stay with him, but when you know that he's gonna hurt you because he's continuously done it before? Or are you gonna have courage and choose yourself and choose to leave, right? When you choose yourself, I'd say that's a form of self-love too.
For sure. For sure. And then like your affirmations is a tool to help you get there.
To remain, to sustain.
Yeah.
You gotta sustain that mindset, or else you never know, you might break somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Friends are good, important things to have, but also like internal power.
Yeah.
Internal power.
One of my values is individuality, and because I just believe that the self is just so beautiful, and I need people to cultivate that within themselves too.
Okay.
And not just me, because it's so powerful when you have that within yourself, being and knowing and learning the ways that you can have control.
Okay.
And not to abuse it, but to use it to empower yourself in a way where it will not disrupt others, right? But moving in your power with other people's power harmoniously. Yeah. So an example for that is like going into an example of that. There's many examples, but a perfect example is I dropped out of college after 3 years because of personal issues.
Okay.
And so now it's been about 3 years since I've been in school, but I want to go back now and finish my BA degree.
Yeah.
So I talked around to some folks, and then a friend / mentor supervisor, he recommended that, hey, maybe you should try out Metro State.
Yeah.
Because they have an individualized studies program. And in this individualized studies program, you take one class where you learn about how you plot the rest of your school career with them.
Okay.
And it allows me to save money on which classes to take. And I get to choose which class I want to take. And I get to, I'm just designing my own major.
Yeah.
You know how much control you have in that,
Yeah.
Whereas if I chose to enroll in their digital marketing degree, I would have they already have a set of list of classes I am required to take. So that means that maybe some classes that are required of me, I will have to pay extra to take that and then learn those skills again that I maybe already learned. And then also might take a lot longer. Whereas instead of that program, I'll just go to the individualized studies program and choose what do I need, and I can finish sooner and I can spend less money.
Yeah. For sure.
That's a form of power and control.
I think more schools are starting to do that too.
Yeah.
At least the school that I went to over in Chicago, they called it multidisciplinary major.
Yeah.
That was like the overall term, but basically what it means is you just create your own major.
Yeah. I never learned of this.
Yeah.
And I just learned this last year.
Oh, that's crazy.
So I was like, whoa. It was like, that was like the spiritual awakening for me, okay?
Yeah.
And spiritual awakening, I don't get it when I meditate, okay? I get it in real life, and it's when I realize, like, holy shit, is this a path where I actually get to control, like, I get to choose the classes I want to take? I get to save money that way? I didn't know that existed.
For sure. Yeah.
So
I encourage everybody
stupid.
listening to go check out to see if your college does provide that as well.
Yes, if you're in, yep. And it takes a certain person to also be introduced to it,
Yeah, you kind of have to know where you want to go in life.
Correct.
You know.
It takes a bunch of responsibility to have power and control.
Definitely. I see you have your journal here.
I do, and it was just about what I basically already shared with you about affirmations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And we basically talked about what I want to talk about, but there is and we've been touching base on this too, but having affirmations with action that equals mastery.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Like mastery,
like I got it done, accomplishment.
okay.
And then
Okay.
once you've accomplished the same task over and over again, like
Then
you've mastered something.
okay. Gotcha. I see where you're going with that.
Yeah,
You
but I
know?
think just marrying having affirmations with actions, action steps, is job well done.
Yeah. For sure.
At least spiritually, job well done. I think in the physical, in the real reality world, it's the increments
Yeah.
are baby steps.
Yeah.
But spiritually, you've done a great job.
So the way you've been talking about affirmations is kind of like had me thinking a little bit. So it sounds like affirmations are things like to say like, yes, like I am beautiful, I am worthy, I'm talented, and I am creative, and things like that. But it also seems like affirmations are goals that you have set. So like I
see where you're going.
will do this, because it just seems like that's also how lumped into your definition.
Yes. So yes and no. So no, because the affirmations are not my goals, and goals would be a different list and topic.
Okay.
But the affirmations are like a stepping ground towards that goal.
Okay.
Like, how do I want to condition myself in order to reach that goal?
Can you give an example?
So you really have to have a lot of self-awareness for this, and it's not impossible. But so, for example, one of my March affirmations is, I feel like I think it's more about how do I want to show up.
Okay. So
but there's also one that is like a goal-oriented type of affirmation.
okay.
I don't know if I'm using the right words.
Yeah.
But so here's the first one, how I would
Okay.
want to show up, right? I am patient, gentle, and kind.
Okay.
Yep. And then on the side note, when I'm repeating that to myself on a daily, it's what I'm focused on. So I'm focusing on, okay, be patient. Okay, be kind. Okay, be gentle. Whereas if I didn't remind myself of that, then I would tend to be a little bit more short-tempered, right? And talk over more people, or like maybe I wasn't kind, when I was driving. So it's like a reminder.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like this affirmation says, I can do it. I know I can.
Okay.
Right? So that's like I'm conditioning myself that, hey, that goal I want to do, I can do it. I know I can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like Thomas the Train.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, definitely. My little cousin loves Thomas the Train. He's but okay, I feel that,
Cool.
that's
Yeah.
good. I feel like that's a good distinction. The power of belief too is super strong. I know you've also been doing a lot of personal development too, which is I'm assuming that's how affirmations kind of fell in your lap.
I feel like anyone that's on the path to becoming their better self, things like this are brought up in that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, the power of self-belief is really good. And affirmations do take you there if you
It is.
really committed to it.
And it's just a matter of perspectives too.
It's such a big topic.
I know. Well, okay, so I wrote down some more things.
Oh
so,
yeah, for sure.
So something that goes along with that is think about what you want, not what you want to avoid.
Okay.
Think about what you want, not about what you want to avoid.
Okay, yeah.
So instead of thinking about what you want to avoid, think about what you want, right? So have you guys ever had that moment where like maybe you had an ex and then you moved on and then they're like completely out of your head, but then you're talking to a friend and then you bring up their name again, your ex's name, out of just nowhere, and then you go about your day and then bam, you see your ex at the store. And you're like, whoa, that's weird.
Law of attraction. No,
Exactly.
You said the name, and that's why. No, anyways.
So that think about what you want. So like people can apply that to like if they have a dream and goal that maybe their friends or family don't agree with, instead of them focusing on their family bickering or nagging at them all the time, they can think about what they actually want, which is like envisioning themselves as a fashion designer or as an artist or an influencer or like as a teacher, So focusing on what they want.
Okay.
And that's all I wrote about it. But so I do want to share that I'm not very into politics. I never used to be, but I just had an amazing one-on-one yesterday with a friend, and she's in that field, and she's been part of campaigns and stuff, and she's very knowledgeable. She went to school for political.
Is it Nelsie?
No, it's not. Someone that was actually part of her campaign. Her name is Cindy Yang, and she ran for State of House in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota.
Yeah.
And she's amazing. But during our one-on-one, it gave me some realizations, and she kind of validated what I've been kind of thinking about, which is like so, how I used to do community organizing, right?
Yeah.
So, and what that means is I'm like going to the community, door knocking, helping people register to go vote, letting them know of the election dates. It's non-partisan, so I'm not representing any candidate. I'm just encouraging people to go and vote. And then also giving them awareness that 2020 is the year of the census.
Yes.
So that's what I was doing. And so that requires a lot of human-to-human interaction, a lot of outreaching to organizations and building relationships. So since I've stepped away from that space and now that I work in a school, I have my own, I'm in an office with my two coworkers. One is my boss, one is my coworker. Great space. But I'm at an office desk, right? And I'm doing work. Like I'm using my computer. I'm in that environment where I'm using my computer and I'm doing like I'm designing and I am just working in the school. So it's a different environment than being in the community and door knocking and calling people to go vote and emailing. And I was working from home, emailing people to, emailing organizations. So, anyways, so now that I'm working at a school, which I really like and I really love it, what I'm missing though, and what's not apparent in my life is the human connection to my community. Because so working the school, I'm working with the staff and working with the admissions. And so even my interaction with the kids are limited. Because I'm not a teacher.
Right.
And then and even in the school, not that it matters, but it's a predominantly white school. So I'm spending 40 hours at work, right? And I'm spending more time with a predominantly white school and citizens. And so anyways, I felt less connected to my community. And, the only community I see is when I go home. And so I don't get to, explore the whole city and talk to people like that anymore. So I felt the urge I wanted to volunteer. I wanted to do more service work. And that's why I started volunteering at the church, at the church that I go to. And so anyways, I've just had thoughts about like, maybe I should just get into fundraising and because it's so fulfilling and it's doing a good deed. But then it's also challenging because I'm asking for money, right? And that's almost like a sales, that I almost have to like use my sales skills in order to do that. So, but it's like a beautiful marriage of all that characteristics and skills and tasks. So we talked about that yesterday. I talked about that yesterday with Cindy.
Okay.
And also, what else did we talk? We talked about a lot of things, but
I think another, let's broaden the wide scope of fulfillment too, is that like fulfillment, for everybody listening, you don't have to, do fundraising. You don't have to do these things. It's just that that's your particular outlet that you want to do it. But fulfillment, I think, the easiest way for people to kind of find any kind of fulfillment in life, in effect, is to essentially help another person, another human being, get to the next level of their life, whether from whatever level they're at right now. And so that's why I feel like most people, I mean, there's a lot of reasons to have kids, but most people have kids, for the ones that really, really want kids. I think it's because like people have this empty feeling of like, oh, like I want kids in order to like have a fulfilled life. And a part of the package is that you're raising these kids to reach the greatest level, their greatest potential in life that they can. And so, and it's like and you want to do it in a way where it's unconditional and unadulterated. And I think when people are able to do that, and for you through that fundraising and like helping the community, because you're gonna give everything back, and so all of it is just kind of like helping other people get to we're social animals, we're social beings, and we're not even culturally, I mean, like instinctively we look for companionship. And when we help another person of our species, it creates like a dopamine and serotonin rush in our brains that like gives us this sense of like fulfillment, because like we know that because survival is our most basic instinct. And so when you help someone else survive in a better heightened sense, then it's just like, man, like, yeah, I did good, like, yo, like, it's the difference from like giving money to a poor person on the street versus bringing them to the shelter, washing their clothes for them, and like doing the actual physical activities for it. Because when you do it's the physicality of it all that really gives us like that sense of fulfillment. Like, yes, I physically did this and became and helped someone be better. And so like,
yeah, and I think that's also a form of self-love. Is giving, or
definitely
helping somebody.
Yeah, it makes you feel good,
Oh yeah,
it's on so many neurological, chemical levels.
Yes.
And there's also spiritual things behind there too. And yeah, that's cool that you want to get back into fundraising. Yeah, see, that's is really curious. So you're in the program Sparrow. I kind of want to dive into that a little bit more. And there's mentors and like things like that. And so like, what makes a good leader? Obviously, to your point, like it is good to have for a leader to have their cup filled before they give anything out. Not financially, but also emotionally, mentally.
Well, I think so many things can define a good leader. And like, I would say that I'm a good leader, but maybe to someone I'm not a good leader. Correct. So what's a good leader for me and who I want to follow is maybe someone who can see 10 steps ahead from me, or someone who will have their radar on, that that while they're observing me, they see any blind spots that I don't see for myself. And then they see that, Mai Yer, you can go this way. and still, and you can reach your goal going that way. For me, that's a leader that I want to follow. That is a good leader for me. I think also a good leader is someone who listens well. Leaders have to be humble, and they have to contain themselves sometimes and not just say everything that they want to say. But they need to say what people need to hear. If you're a coach, if you're a life coach, but maybe a leader, it's also cut up into different roles too, right? Like mom and dads are leaders, teachers are leaders, presidents and political candidates are leaders. Social media influencers, they're leaders too for people who are following them. So there's so many different types of leaders. Yeah, and then there's life coaches, and then there's business owners that are leaders. So yeah, a good leader is someone who is definitely transparent, someone who has a vision, and someone who can communicate and transparently, someone who is realistic, who is very real, and a leader is true to himself. A leader has to be true to himself, and being true to himself, his how true he is to himself does not depend on how many followers he has or how big his community is. A true leader is just someone who sticks to his true character, and the right people come to him.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't matter with popularity or the big amount of people who are listening to him. Yeah, a leader is just someone who can lead himself too.
Yeah. And so you're becoming a better leader through everything that you're doing, through your affirmations, through your program, through
Thanks.
TVE. You guys are putting on something this month, right?
We are planning on a
open
couple
mic?
projects. Yep.
Yeah.
We're planning on a couple projects, and so it's a work in progress. So how Daniel and I met, for those of you who don't know, we met. You came out to our open mic, a TBE's open mic.
Yeah, I did.
And then at that open mic, I did a spoken word piece of affirmations, and that's kind of what attracted you to spark a conversation, right?
Yeah.
So why were you interested in? Can you share that part?
Oh, I see. Yeah. So,
That's where it kind of started.
For most people, I make music as a composer, producer more these days. So a lot of the projects and collaborations I've done have been poetry, spoken word, and narrative formats. So like there's a piece that I've recorded and made some music to. It's called 3 a.m. That is actually a fictional narrative where it's about a guy who's crying at 3 a.m. in the morning because his wife left him, and they have a broken marriage, and now he's kind of like in shambles, and he's just like going through this, and it's super introspective. And so like that's one thing. And then I have other pieces like the Dictionary of Colonizers. I think you guys should all listen to that. But basically in that whole
shamelessly plug.
Yeah, but in the Dictionary of Colonizers, I mean, I didn't write these things. They were written by actual artists who actually write literature that's like their career path. And so for Dictionary of Colonizers, it's about seven words, and you know how in Webster's dictionary you have the word, you see how it's pronounced, and then they have the definition. And so the definition portion is and how it's pronounced, and just kind of like the short snippet of it is it's an experience based around specifically Asian women's experience with a dominant male, and particularly a white dominant male. And so it's deep stuff. And so like when you said your things about affirmations, I was like, yo, I like it. I like the message. I really want to record it. I really want to put music behind it, because I think music and audio and visual are so powerful at this moment. It's like the apex of influence right now. Like music, like you don't listen to classical music, by itself. You listen to classical and orchestral music in movies, in games. Like there's always some sort of visual or other stimulus tied to the music, and because the music uplifts whatever the message is. You know, like when you listen to Disney scores, like I'm not going in there and expecting to hear some like, you know, some sort of Tekashi or 6ix9ine or some sort of like Snoop Dogg track on a Disney film. Like you know, I want that magical feeling, and like people are expecting that, and so even though a lot of my stuff in the past have been negative, or not negative, but like very, people could categorize it as depressive and dark, I do want to try to capture more things that are light and more loving, encouraging, and things like that.
I called it dark.
And so, you know, when Mai Yer did her piece, I was like, yo, I feel that, like, I like that, I want to record that. And obviously, and if people don't want to record it's very personal things. So like, if you know, I'm happy that you came through, you know, we're doing it.
Yeah.
So
it was really good.
Yeah.
It was really great. It's a great opportunity too. So
yeah,
I want to thank you for that too.
For sure. But anyways.
Oh, okay. Well, this was an optional thing that I might have wanted to share. But so this is about affirmations.
Okay. Wait, is this the new one?
No.
Okay.
No, it's not.
Okay, no problem.
Well, it's new, but it's not for like what we would record.
Okay,
yeah,
no problem.
I actually didn't write anything for what we record, but I was kind of just gonna play with what I wrote for March.
Okay, yeah.
So, so this one, it says, so an affirmation that I would use as an affirmation would be, I come around full circle. But I don't know if I would really affirm it, but this would just like, so this is just an example. I come around full circle. So I wrote that I would want to affirm that in order to set up my mind for success. Now, my mind and my chemicals know that when I'm thinking or putting thoughts together, it comes full circle. And the reason why it's important is because the meaning of life is to come full circle, open and close, full circle.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know that saying, always be closing? Always be
closing?
Yeah.
I don't know that saying.
Yeah, so they say always be closing, ABC. You can relate it into sales. Always be closing, you close the sale.
Uh-huh.
And you get the sale.
Okay.
Or you always be closing, you close the film, the ending.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like always be closing, like shut the door in someone's face, like cancel cancel culture or something. No, okay.
No, like filmmaking.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah,
I
always
feel
be
that.
closing, yeah.
I feel that.
And then I've even applied it into like conversations.
Yeah.
Like I need to come full circle. Or like write an essay, you know? Kids have to come full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's a good pattern to do in order to not let anything just be left open, right? Yeah.
Cool. Well, I feel like, yeah, sorry. I cut you off.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good spot. So before we close, where can we, you said you had some announcements, but also where can we find you? Social media, etc., etc.
Yes, on social media, you can find me at Instagram, Ailey Lee XO. I've decided on Ailey Lee. And then on my Facebook, right now it's also Ailey Lee, but I'm going to be changing the spelling of Ailey. So, but just find Ailey Lee. Okay. It's going to be, I'm sorry if it's confusing, but right now on Facebook it's AILEE Lee, but it's going to be changed to AYLEE Lee. So, and then on my YouTube channel, it's called Ailey TV. So it's just Ailey TV. You'll be able to find me, and yeah, and then just connect with me through my social media and follow any announcements or any posts that I make. And what I like to do is kind of just I just feel this calling to share like any knowledge or wisdom that I have, and that's literally just what I do. So I feel like not everything I post is going to relate to you every single time, but I'm hoping that it will strike a chord in someone, and it will be different people every time I share something. So and so I kind of just like see it like I'm a resource for you if you need me, you know, if you need my services
Yeah.
on my social media. But there's so the other things that I'm working on currently is writing a book. It's called I Bossed Up.
Okay, all right, girl.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I'm on chapter 4 right now, and
Yo.
it's gonna be finished written this spring, and then it's
Okay.
gonna go into multiple rounds of editing. So I don't know when it's gonna be published, but I am writing on one.
Yeah.
And then there's a business I want to start, and it's a jewelry line, and it's called Anchor.
Ooh, okay.
Yes, and this is my first time sharing on public.
Okay, all right. Y'all got the scoop.
Yeah.
Keep your ears and eyes open.
Yes. So
Yeah.
follow me, and so the so Anchor is really it's spelled ANQCHOR.
ANQCHOR. Okay.
So the Anchor, the logo for it is like the positive plus sign. And we were doing this the other day.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I already had this idea a while back. So that's what it is. And so it's gonna just be like it's not gonna be like Forever 21 where it's just like a whole bunch of jewelry that I want to make.
Okay.
Like I don't have enough time or capacity to create so much jewelry.
Oh yeah.
It's just one or two staple pieces.
Okay.
That I want that people like, that you can incorporate into your wardrobe, into your as a daily accessory. Okay, it's like when I wear my cross, it's like my holy Bible. I want it with me, right? That's what Anchor is. And so Anchor is really just to be less critical of yourself, and to understand that the deeper meaning is just to understand that you are perfect in your imperfections, and the reason of that is because you bring glory to God.
Yeah.
So that's the deeper meaning of that.
Okay.
And so the Anchor is really just to when you guys wear it, I hope that they will just feel close to themselves, and they remember to choose themselves. They remain strong, and be an anchor.
For sure.
So that's coming up.
Okay, I'm excited for that, yo. I'm excited.
Yeah. And then the other thing is that at my workplace, they are offering 2 full ride scholarships, close to full ride scholarships for an incoming 9th grader. Wow. For a person of color.
Wow.
Yes. And I'm in charge of outreaching to the community. So I am looking for people. I'm looking for people for a family and for 1 or 2 students who want to take the opportunity.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And that school is amazing because I love it because they have leadership and they teach business skills early on, and it's rigorous.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So I feel like
that's a new change.
Yes. And I feel like for the person of color, that student that's going to be taking that scholarship, they'll be like 10 steps ahead. Like when I had my self-discovery in sales at 21, I wish I unpacked all my shit when I was younger, so I wouldn't have been so depressed.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe I made less mistakes.
Yeah.
But so maybe hopefully, it's a great opportunity for that student to get that greater education. And I know it's going to be hard because people of color, persons of color, our families tend to be more of a low income, middle income, low income, middle class. And so I understand it's hard because it's going to be like you're paying for your mortgage, like an extra mortgage, but it's definitely worth it.
Yeah.
And so I am looking for people, and if you know anyone who is interested, who wants to go to Hill Murray.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say this on the record. So Mai Yer over here, Ailey, works at Hill Murray, and that is my high school, actually. It's so crazy, and I didn't find this out until after we met. So we met, and then you were at a different job, and then a couple months later you're transitioning to this job. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, what school you're going to? She's like, Hill Murray. I'm like, no way, that's crazy.
That was like a
Yeah.
great connection when
Yeah,
we found
so
that.
I do. Okay, so for anybody listening and wants to get a little inside scoop about how I feel about Hill Murray, and the scholarship. So I'm assuming there's a lot of things that have been changed over the years. Look, I graduated 2013. That was 7 years ago. A lot of things could have changed. But overall, Hill Murray it's definitely, well, it's, first of all, it's a high school and middle school, but the scholarship only applies to the high school. So it's a good place. Honestly, the people that go there and the kids that go there, at least when I was there, were really friendly. And you don't see this at a lot of high schools, but the jocks who played football also did the theater plays with the art students, and they joined choir, and like, and the soccer players did the same thing. So like, it wasn't like they liked choir and theater a lot, but it was just kind of like,
Well-rounded.
yeah, they just had an open mind. Like, they're like, one guy came into the theater show, and then they're like, yo, like, they brought on all the friends, and then it was kind of like High School Musical. It literally kind of was like High School Musical towards the end of my time at Hill Murray. And so it's really a good place, and I'm pretty sure it's a really good place right now. Things to note: it's a Catholic school. You don't have to be Catholic or Christian to go there. Just know that they will be teaching those things to your child and to you. And
it's a private school.
Yeah, it is a private school. The choir program is balls.
Theater is great as well, and hockey. If you guys are interested in hockey,
Yeah,
it's a
Hill
great school
Murray
for hockey.
is known for hockey.
Yeah.
They essentially almost win every championship every year. I don't know if it's still that way, but when I was there, look, they was at the finals like 24/7. But yeah, so that's amazing that Hill Murray is offering scholarships like that to people.
Yes, and so the
anybody in the area or specifically within St. Paul,
if they're willing, if it honestly, it doesn't matter anywhere really, as long as the family, like, if they're not living in St. Paul but they're willing to like travel to attend school there, then sure, but if, it's St. Paul, it's convenient, so, or Maplewood.
Sure.
But
sure.
and also note that the student is also going to be trailblazing a little bit, because the school is, I see that they're wanting, the president, the vice president of fundraising, and the executive director of advancement, they're investing in wanting to diversify the school. And so and then now, since that I'm there and hired on, technically an intern, but I think low-key I do see myself there for a while, and I believe I got a word from God that that's where my legacy will be built.
Okay.
So I think I'm going with it and sticking with it. And so, it will fill my heart to see even more Hmong students go there too. And I know it's not easy, but
it's not.
It's not, because you're in high school too, and so even high school by itself is not easy.
Yeah.
But I will be there as a support, and they can come into our office anytime, and like, it's literally an open space. And there's study hall times that they can always come in there too for that extra support. But they'll definitely be kind of trailblazing a little bit, and they do have to be strong. So, but it'll pay off, and I feel like it's like when you decide to start your own business, when you decide you want to go to Hill Murray, because you're gonna get people who are like, why do you want to go to a private school? Why do you want to go to a Catholic school? If they're non-Catholic, like, you're not even Catholic, right?
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, or like, why do you want to pay extra for your education when you have to pay for college? And it's like, who do you think you are? You like that kid will get like things like that. So it takes a strong person to also stick to it. But it's a great opportunity because you get almost a full ride scholarship.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah,
But,
I'll put the word out there too. And also, if you're listening or if you see our media posts, if transportation or something is also an issue, I know that's a real thing, especially for specific working families in the Twin Cities area. It could be that amongst the suburban area as well, but just if you really feel devoted, or if you hear this and you think that it's really your thing, like a full ride scholarship to Hill Murray, it's not the #1 private school that belongs to Blake, as far as I know
I
right
thought
now.
St. John's.
No, I think it's Blake right now.
Where is that?
That's in Minneapolis,
Oh.
Blake High School. But point is that it is a good school. You get a good education. People are well-rounded. And from what it looks like...
And I'm not about competition. If it's a good fit for someone,
Yeah.
It's like finding the right church, right?
Yeah. And it sounds like that they're putting more emphasis on entrepreneurship, or being an individual, creating impact in the world. If you're listening to this and if you feel like you want to make an impact in the world, being a trailblazer, being the odd one out, being criticized is a part of the journey. And the earlier you experience that, the earlier you can build calluses for that and develop your character. You will go far in life. And it's good because you are always going to be you authentically. And if you want to build real change in the world, you're going to have haters no matter what. And so if this school is providing classes that can get you to that point, really think about it.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that they'll be a trailblazer, not that they have to be too, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to be anything. I think as long as you're willing and open-minded, it's a great position for you to be in. And yeah. What I want to see moving forward is, just in something that I know that Nelsie is very passionate about, is being progressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? And a big thing that I've learned is to be progressive and not striving for perfection. Right? So we can't be perfect, and we'll die trying to be perfect, but we will die.
Yeah.
And so let's just progress our way towards where we want to be. So
for sure.
This would be a good opportunity to train ride you there.
Yeah. Well, to reiterate, you can find Mai Yer on Instagram at ailey.xiong. Ailey on Facebook as well. Currently right now, AILEE. Soon to be changed to AYLEE.
Yep.
And
Instagram is AileyLeeXO.
Oh, yeah, sorry. AileyLeeXO. Also spelled AY, not AI.
Correct. It'll all be linked.
Yeah, and also check out Ailey TV. That's on YouTube, everybody. Also another thing that you've been doing, TB Extraordinary. Check out their group. They only on Facebook right now. Hopefully on Instagram soon. And yeah, you can find me at everything TabooThao on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. And the way you spell TabooThao is TabooThao. And yeah, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Cool.
Thanks, everyone.